Hello there, I'm Tim and he's John, and this is How to Murder Time, a podcast about games and things.
Hello everybody.
Watcher.
We're back again.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm transfixed.
I got a new light.
I know, it's beautiful. If I just suddenly stop and stare like catatonic for like 5 minutes at a time, you'll have to fill. But yeah, so...
It does have two... Well, I tried having both of them.
How long have you been doing this? Like 10 years, as we previously discussed, and you've decided to use a light.
I got two of them. I tried putting two of them up, so I may do that next time. But
Okay.
A bit problematic, and also I can't wear my glasses anymore because it blinds the camera.
You don't need to see what's going on.
I was going to poke out the lenses, but I thought it wouldn't help.
That whole Clark Kent thing going on.
Yeah, so if I look like Superman, that's why.
So do comment on our technical...
No, please don't.
ability and stuff. Anyway,
please don't comment on last week's microphone being off.
Wow, yeah, that was...
I covered that quite well, I thought.
You were just shouting most of the way through. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, we're not live this time, are we?
No. I could be asked to change so many things at once.
It takes quite a lot of setting up, that.
Next time, maybe.
Well, we'll see. I'm going to crack straight on and talk about some games, because that's what we do.
That's what
I'm going to talk about Planet Explorers.
Again?
One of the most generic names for a computer game I've ever come across.
I remembered I had this game.
Yeah,
I played 30
I looked in
seconds of
Steam, friends who have got this game, and I thought, oh, it was you. And then I thought, oh, God, he probably talked about it like a year and a half ago or something on the show, and I wasn't paying attention.
2015, I think I got it.
Yeah. Well, this is my sort of my big sort of pet peeve, my big bugbear is I don't do early access except when my peer group pressures me into doing early access, like Factorio, which still isn't out, and we've been playing that extensively.
I'm sure I bought that 10 years ago.
Well, exactly. This is the whole problem. So I say, oh, Planet Explorers, and you go, oh, yeah, I bought that on early access about 3 years ago. Yeah. What did you think? Do you even remember it? Have you played it
Yes,
since?
I actually played it during the week briefly to familiarise myself with which game it was. And my initial thought was, oh, that's the EverQuest 2 looking game.
It does look a lot like Landmark, and that kind of sort of free realm style thing, sort of reasonably cutesy graphics style to it. And that's a real surprise and shame, because it's actually a reasonably hard SF sort of planet colonisation voxel sandbox type game with some quite strong and surprising story elements. Yeah, you can.
Can you dig?
You can dig.
Oh, because I haven't got
dig caves.
All I did was I wandered around, gathered some herbs, replicated some medicine, and got bored.
Yeah.
Wandered down to the water, couldn't pick up water.
You needed a jug. You talk to her and she gives you a jug.
Oh.
Anyway, so yes, it's...
I don't like talking to women about their jugs.
It can end badly. So yes, it's one of these games I've been keeping an eye on. There's a whole big list of them, which I won't go into now. But all these things.
Please see the next 100 episodes.
Well, I go onto Steam, and there's a big search by tags and categories and stuff. And I love exploration games, and I think, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that looks interesting. And they all, oh no, there's the big blue box. Why is this game released in early access? I refuse to subscribe to your reality. Frankly, I'm not going to buy games until they're finished, because it's unfair to heap loads of terrible criticism on them for being unfinished if they're not actually finished.
Fair enough.
That's my stance, and it's a hopelessly naive one that's go the way of the dinosaur, I imagine.
A bit like you.
Yes, it does reflect me. So, but Planet Explorers is one of these on my list, on my big rotation of games I go on keeping an eye on and thought I'd have a look at. And oh, hello, 1 point something or other, 1.14 or something, 1.12 build. I thought, oh, it's out, it's released, it's finished. So I thought, okay, I'm now allowed to play them. Buy this, so I did. It's only 11 quid as well. My guess is that they've basically long ago peaked on their income and interest graphs long time ago.
Release now is stopping working on it.
Well, a release now means you can't charge any more Kickstart pledging for it. So, but yeah, and so this is a company called Pathia, I think. Yeah, I've never heard of them for anything else. I think they are currently pushing and early accessing a game called My Time in Portia, something like that.
Oh, that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, which is apparently a kind of Stardew Valley type of thing. Yeah, it's so basically this is.
I've got Stardew Valley. Why do I need anything else?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know a lot about that game, but Planet Explorers, essentially, you are a member of a colony ship heading off to a new world, and that just ticks all my boxes. I'm so
Can I say
that.
It ticked my boxes because that initial cutscene is so bad.
it's pretty bad, yeah.
It's sort of original X series bad.
Yeah. I'll come to the production values and so on as we go. But the basic premise of it is, you're on a big ship, big colony ship from Earth and Earth and Mars from the solar system. There's a bit of backstory in that Earth and Mars have just come out of quite a terrifying war where they've been flinging like asteroids at each other and that kind of thing. And they, in the spirit of cooperation and détente, they've decided to put together a kind of colony mission to Epsilon Indi, I think. I can't remember which planet. The planet's called Maria. Why not? So you start your tutorial on the ship, learning how to gather herbs and how to use your replicator tool to basically, it's the standard sort of crafting from these sorts of games. You have a widget that can turn like sand and iron into other things, pickaxes and shovels.
With your small portable replicator, you are possibly a god.
Yes, well, to a point. The replicator requires scripts to run it. It needs recipes essentially, and these sort of form the progression through the game. Various NPCs and members of your colony expedition all have different scripts available to buy from their little shops as you go through the thing, and that basically progressively increases your capabilities. You start off with like leather armor and stone and wood tools. Next thing you know, you've got like aluminium alloy armor, jetpacks and laser guns and deployable sentry turrets and all the rest of it. It's quite an extensive technology tree to the whole game. So yeah, you arrive in orbit, and almost as soon as you arrive in orbit and begin preparations to descend, your big mothership thing hits something massive on the way down, and it's just an utter catastrophe. So you all jump into your little lifeboat little plane things and end up scattered all across this game continent, and that's sort of, you know, that's where you start, that's where you pick up. You sort of dust yourself up out of the wreckage of one of these on a beach, and there's a whole continent ahead of you, and you're all in really dire straits, and you've got to find people, organise, get things back together. It's that real sort of, there was almost shades of Red Mars to it. There's like I mean, it's not quite a utterly hostile alien deathscape when you land there. It is sort of rolling plains, green hills country to start with, and then there's your forest biomes and your red rock desert biomes and so on. And so there's plenty of resources and things you can use and harvest to get your replicator going and actually start building things back up. And it's sort of I've heard it described as a kind of 3D Starbound, and that absolutely ticks. That absolutely hits it. Yeah, I mean, because I like Starbound and I like Terraria as well, but there's just this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a 3-dimension snob. You know, I just can't really get into 2D side scrollers, no matter how flexible and expansive they are.
I refuse to play anything with more than 2 dimensions and no colour clash.
Attribute clash. Yes, well, jetpack aficionado that you are, you're probably better off with Starbound, but. So this basically takes that kind of aesthetic, that kind of mechanic, that kind of gameplay, and sort of applies it to a sort of fully featured 3-dimensional world. There's all sorts of alien creatures wandering around this landscape. Some of them are herbivores, some of them are quite aggressive predators. And you basically start moving from little outpost to outpost, meeting various members, you know, rescuing various members of the crew and getting things together. Before long, you find yourself building up a colony and having to defend it against attacking aggressive native aliens who are kind of sort of mud huts and spears kind of technology. But there's an elaborate story that goes all the way through this, which I really... I'm surprised how deep and involved and intelligent it is. It's really sort of borderline hard SF, I mean, which sort of clashes a bit with the cutesy people and the aesthetic that you're seeing. Because a lot of the native creatures aren't terrifying, you know, Geiger-esque monstrosities either. They're generally quite cute in some cases. You know, very early on, the first sort of predatory alien you come across is essentially a giant squirrel thing that's wandering around these grass plains that occasionally tries to kick you about, and you have to try and defend yourself, and that introduces you to the basic combat. There's a kind of sort of over-the-shoulder third-person sort of combat to it, and the gunplay it's not great. But
is it real-time or is it matching buttons?
No, real-time combat. Okay. Yeah, you have to aim and fire.
Aim
and shoot. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but the gunplay is not, you know, Battlefield or you know, or GTA or anything like that. But it's serviceable. It does the job, and of course you've got quite a large variety of materials to build weapons with and different sorts of weapons. So the colony management aspect of it is quite involved as well. At one point, I was building a monorail system. It actually has like floating monorail poles that have energy beams connecting, and you can use that as mass transit between different places of interest. It's an enormous world with various different sorts of biomes that you'd expect from something like Minecraft, but obviously not everything made of meter cubes. It's all sort of blended into the scenery quite well. I mean, the graphics is nice enough. I mean, slightly stylized to avoid, you know, the sort of the uncanny valley stuff, but just the depth and complexity of the systems and the sort of the narrative is just really interesting and engaging. I'm really finding myself drawn into what's going on with this conflict. Obviously, I'm trying to really subjugate this planet, I've decided. Every now and then you get the occasional moralistic sort of option as to how to approach the situation there, which essentially is a world with... initially, it just looks like an empty world, and this shock is palpable when you come across some alien ruins and you start to see signs of civilization, and then realise that actually there's people trying to hunt you and drive drive you off this world, and then there's more layers happening on top of that as well.
What about the thing from the cutscene?
Thing from the cutscene, I don't know yet. No.
Okay.
No, exactly. There's like I said, there's some you see it for like a fraction of a second in the cutscene, and then bang, and you're down. But you sort of learn more about that as you go, and it's really well done. There's some some downsides to it all. I mean, for starters, it's the voice acting is bizarre. I don't know the history. I'm wondering if it's a pledge us $20 and you can have you can voice one of the NPCs, because you've got loads and loads of people in there with quite a lot of spoken lines, which is nice, but the recording quality and the acting ability are wildly variable. Some of them are sounded quite clearly like they're on podcast mics. Some of them sound quite professional, and so I'm thinking, this might have been a sort of community effort here, getting the voice work done for this. Perhaps, I don't know, but it's the sort of thing you can overlook. Like I say, the combat's not great, but it does the job. And the exploration's good. One of the things that really blew my mind is, as well as so you can dig. You got your normal digging with tools, so your pickaxes, shovels, and so on. And finding minerals is actually a matter of actually finding them and digging them out of out of the world. So you get a mineral scanner on your little in-game mobile phone app thing, and that shows you trace sort of underneath the surface. And so you start pickaxing and digging your way down, and you actually see on the different point. Not quite sure how the voxels work, but individual blobs of material are seen as textures as you're digging down. So you'll dig down dirt, rocks, and then you start seeing iron and copper appearing, and then you know where to dig. So you actually are digging in the dirt to find real minerals and stuff. Those all get processed through your little your magic replicator thing, which can then turn them into all sorts of other stuff.
What powers this thing?
I know, it's an astonishing device, which is it sort of everything hinges. The entire economy hinges on it.
Also, why wasn't it programmed with the ability to make a new ship?
I don't know. I think it might get to that one eventually, because
it feels a bit like you. Have you seen Darling into the Galaxy 2 yet?
Yes.
You know the way that Rocket fixes the ship? It feels like that.
Spraying nanites onto it and it's just forming. I wouldn't be surprised if that in the late game that becomes possible. Obviously, the whole thing launches. You can have story mode, and then obviously there's a free form. Just here's a world, here's everything, go for it mode. I've sort of resisted playing in that yet because I want to play through the story.
They tend to destroy it for me.
Well, the story is introducing the various tech tree as you go as part of the narrative as well, which is interesting and well done. So you got that. Then you go into build mode, and you can actually start placing cubes of gathered material onto the landscape in build walls and houses and stuff. There's a large section of the sort of early to mid game where you're building a colony literally for these people. You got various placeable bits of furniture like colony, habitation bed units or medical bays or whatever. They don't just plonk on the ground under a fully formed thing, but then you have to build houses and roofs and walls and things all around it.
Do they get upset if you just leave it all al fresco?
They don't seem to care really. I mean, the pathing's quite eccentric for these NPCs when they're wandering around the town.
I would give you walls, but you can't be trusted with walls. Well, you don't understand doors or anything.
No, it's more like, we've given them walls. We better let all the NPCs just teleport to where they need to be whenever they want, because they end up in the strangest places. But I think that's the only logical way you can do it without having it dynamically regenerate NPC pathing every time you put a block in place. It works well enough, so that's quite good. So you've got this whole architectural Minecraft building aspect to it by placing blocks of marble or stone or steel or whatever in literally in world as cubes or triangular wedges and so on. And so you can use that to, there's a number of missions. One mission has you trying to build essentially a ground-based satellite receiver so that you can contact the satellite navigation satellites you'd put in orbit on the way in. And that basically has the objective of use 80 cubes of aluminium and 80 cubes of iron within this area. And it shows you, you could have just built a big stack and then put these special items it's given you on the top, and that would have ticked the box. But it becomes a sort of personal challenge to try and make that actually look like some sort of satellite
dish. So some
dish.
people are going to find this game completely boring because it's just, I've got these resources, made a pile, and it's fine. And other people are going to spend so long doing it.
Making quite an intricate looking thing.
The simple task takes weeks.
Possibly, you can get involved as much as you like, really. I mean, I find myself sort of ping-ponging backwards and forwards between building the colony and just tinkering in a sort of freeform Minecraft style, trying to make it look nice and, lawns and proper buildings and some proper sentry turret towers and defences and stuff, and then when I get a bit bored of that, I'll just push on with the story and actually go explore places around the world. You can fast travel across what's otherwise an enormous continent. Every time you find a point of interest, it appears on the map, and you can click on that map to fast travel. You have to pay some in-game currency. The in-game currency is meat.
Okay.
To begin with, yeah. And all of the survivors will give you the scripts for the things you need, but you have to pay them in meat.
Question.
Meat comes from animals.
How do the vegetarians and the vegans among the crew feel about this?
I'm not sure if they were pre-selected to not have any of them for the crew. I don't know. And then sort of about a third the way, well, I don't know how far in, but at one point during your colony construction process, you managed to rescue one of the economists from the ship.
Oh, the important people.
Yeah. And he's pointing out how absurd it is to come up with a currency that's perishable.
No, that's not absurd. That fixes so much.
It's oh god, it reminds me of some of the backstory blurb for 40k. Orcs use teeth as currency, which means that every healthy orc is guaranteed an income for life because they just keep growing.
Yeah.
but no, he ends up implementing a sort of credit-based currency, and then you can use your meat for actual recipes after that, which is useful. But yeah, so you got that, and you got the building.
Economists
the buildings.
will ruin everything.
But then that what really blew my mind is there's a creation mode in there as well. And I didn't think I really captured any of it, but what you've also got is you press this button and you will literally goes into a 3D CAD editing software that comes as part of the game. And you use the same block placement techniques that you use out in the world to create, I don't know, guns, helicopters, boats, bits of armour, AI drones, turrets, all sorts of things. That object that you're building with cubes of different sorts of material then is something that you can export into the real world as long as you've got the material cost. You save these recipes. The items gain functional capability by adding things like engines and rudders or steering wheels or cockpits. As long as you've got a certain number of functional pieces, that makes a car.
Questions?
Yeah.
Do the wheel physics work?
Yes. Yeah. So
do the cars just sort of blow up randomly?
No, not really. They're a bit. They're a bit bound. I think the driving physics is a bit hit and miss. Yeah. But the cars themselves do work if you're on some flat ground.
Pistons?
No, I don't think they have pistons or rotors in Space Engineer style. No, basically, so to make a car, it says you have a list of required pieces that you need, and you'll make them from your own inventory using the replicator based on scripts you bought off of other people. So you have a fuel cell, an engine, 4 wheels, 2 of which have to be defined as steering wheels. They'll actually steer. Well, you've either got locked fixed wheels or wheels that will steer.
That's down to more than just the wheel.
Well, it's just the wheel in this. I mean, obviously, they're not going to have it so that you have to literally build a functioning car. The physics aren't that good. But once you've got a vehicle cockpit, a fuel cell, an engine, and 4 wheels, 2 of which are designated as steering wheels, that then is a car. And you can build whatever you like on the rest of it. Yeah. In terms of cubes of wood. Nice. Most of them, it comes with some template recipes that are all made of wood. But
you can't beat a good bit of wood paddling down the side of a car.
It's really, really daunting and intimidating, frankly. It is a fully featured piece of CAD software, basically. I mean, and with a not hugely intuitive mechanism to actually work with it. I mean, I find the building interfaces a lot more complicated and fiddly than, say, Minecraft or Starbound or anything like that. I think to place, say, I mean, so a lot of the placeable sentry turrets, which are really overpowered and quite important for defending in-game locations, colony stuff, they will only work if they're on a base of 4x4 material. You can't just push them on the ground. Okay. You have to build a column first. Right. So to build a column, it comes with a default drag tool. So you left-click and hold and drag, and it will make a sort of a flat rectangle of whatever size. Then when you let go and then drag, that then does the up and down. So that's how you basically create 3-dimensional rectilinear objects. And then you can sort of hold shift while you're doing that to take cuts out of them to remove and stuff. You get the hang of it. But it is not casual. It's not just an immediately intuitive experience like Minecraft or anything else like that. But I'm honestly racking my brains to try and think of any way you could do that easier and more intuitively, and I can't really. I mean, it is a fiddly pain in the arse, especially when you're trying to juggle camera view as well. Yeah. So if you're trying to build a tower that's very tall, much taller than you.
Is there nothing to do to turn everything into the 4-view, top, side, left perspective?
No, not out in the world when you're building in-world walls and houses and stuff. But in the editor, I don't know if it splits into a 3-pane view. I think you are just stuck with the one little 3-view thing. But it's astonishing. I mean, like I said, I've yet to come up with any actual from-scratch designs that work well myself yet. But it comes with enough ready-made templates that you can have a go. And one of them is a helicopter.
Oh.
Yeah. You got rotor blades. There's a whole load of boat parts. I wouldn't be surprised if there's spaceship parts later on. I don't know. But there's different classes of vehicles. So I think a small aircraft type vehicle, which essentially is a kind of, I don't know, just a sort of helicopter with 6 seats in the back and the cockpit thing, because you've got NPCs around with you all the time as well. Often for some of these missions, they'll come with you because you need to go take them to a place, or escort missions or whatever. They can all jump in the helicopter.
Is there any way to make stupidly large mining machines?
I haven't seen a drill that goes on a vehicle yet. A lot of it is just...
That was my favourite thing.
There are turrets. I'm still trying to come up with some sort of suitable tank design, but I think a ground-based tank is absolutely doable. You've got these enormous turret pieces that can be placed on a vehicle, in addition to all the bits that make a car. So you could have armed cars. I think I did make a boat that had like miniguns on the front that track when you put into a firing mode when you're driving them. So you can use the turrets from the vehicle. This is all stuff that you can do, and it's astonishing the sort of potential that gives you. I mean, I must admit, the first boat I made, I didn't quite understand what was going on, but it ends up driving along about 5 blocks below the surface of the water. So I was sort of driving this boat, and the water's here, you know.
By boat, do you actually mean Navy definition of boat?
Yeah, no, there are ballast tanks. You can make submarines, but I think I made one by accident.
Did it have a roof?
Yes. Yeah, it was like a sort of Vietnam Apocalypse Now type patrol boat type thing, but it sort of merrily scudded along at about 40 miles an hour, about 3 feet below the water.
Okay.
So that's a bit weird. So but a game with this much going on and this many quirks is going to throw up some odd things.
That's
I think.
true.
But
yeah.
It's just astonishing. I don't know how far I am in on the story yet, but it's dealing, you know, for all its free realms and EverQuest landmarky style of sort of cutesy almost charm, it deals with some surprisingly advanced hard SFS topics about economy, sociology, the sort of technology gap between different aliens, races, that sort of thing. I mean, and then you got this political dimension, because half the colony are Martians and half the colony are Terrans, and we've just gotten over this massive war, and no one trusts each other, so they've split off almost immediately into 2 separate colonies.
Of course,
you're off with the Earth lot, and the Mars lot are halfway across the forest trying to set their own thing.
Along?
Well, one of the Martians takes charge and sort of stages a coup, and he's like some military nutter as well. So it's it deals with some surprisingly elaborate themes for what amounts to essentially something like, you know, Starbound or Terraria. Yeah. And you just get that sense of wandering along an alien shore with a couple. You can designate up to two of the little NPCs as sort of followers of yours, and you can equip them in the same sort of paper doll way you equip yourself with the same gear and equipment and stuff. So I mean, I've got 2 henchmen following me around, and I got a sniper rifle that came out of this creation editor thing, because you can make weapons as well as tanks and vehicles and stuff. And I got a jetpack going on. I think there's a glide pack and a parachute as well. I mean, there's a rope grappling hook gun thing, which is interesting, because the first biome you end up in, there's these giant stone sort of plateau mushroom things dominating the landscape, and these weird giant curly thorn things all across the landscape. It does a pretty good job of creating the appearance of you being on an alien world whilst still having to fulfill the basic sort of usability of something like Minecraft. Even the grassy plains biomes have got weird flora and fauna on them. The trees in the forest all across the planet, the trees seem to have this habit of growing in twinned loops. All the branches come up. Simple things like that. And of course, you look up and there's the weird planets in the sky. Of course, it gives you that real.
Wondering how gravity's working with all those big planets so close.
I know. Anytime you can see a planet larger than our moon in your sky,
you have to wonder why that planet isn't a ring.
At the very least, you'd have 300-foot tides every 2 hours. You know, it really does sort of scratch that itch for sort of planetary exploration and colonisation. It does it really well as well. And of course, all of the intricacies and sort of fiddling about you get with something like Minecraft, but you've got this quite advanced set of technologies going on as well. I mean, I don't think I've seen nearly all of them yet. And then on top of all that, you're collecting parts that you can use in the creation mode thing to build your own crazy vehicles or awesome weapons. There's robot drones, flying drone things with a whole bunch of sub technologies there, and I haven't really looked into those in great depth yet. And then, just when you're thinking, oh, okay, this is, just a Minecraft style empty field, empty forest, a blank canvas. You follow the story far along enough, and you start coming across weird alien megastructures and all sorts of abandoned alien desert cities and things, and you're starting to think, wow, what's going on here? So there's a lot going on in this game. in the story mode, and then even if you just didn't bother with that and just did the creative mode, I imagine hours of entertainment there as well. I think it's multiplayer. I don't know about dedicated servers. Probably.
Oh, everything's got.
It says it's got a multiplayer menu, so I imagine you could play this thing with friends. I'm very tempted with a static group type of thing. I don't know. I'll play it through to the end and see how suitable it would be, but. I don't know if the story would make much sense with multiple lots of you, whether it's scales or anything like that, but certainly the creative mode of it all would be eminently suitable for a gang of people to work through the hostile rigours of an alien world setting up and so on. It's really good. I'm really impressed with it, and it was only £11. Right. Bargain. So I'm enjoying that a lot, and I'm really fascinated to see where this story of it all goes and how far the tech tree seems to go, because it's just continuing to add new bits and new technology and new things. Titanium armour at some point. I haven't found a recipe to make titanium yet, so yeah, fascinating stuff. I recommend that highly. Yeah,
because when I played, it wasn't that gripping for the first couple of minutes.
It's a long span game. Yeah, I mean, just the lengthy nature of a Minecraft experience to say. I mean, it's very easy to get bored of Minecraft in the first 2 minutes or so. Oh, I've got to punch a tree.
That's true,
I know what, but it rewards a kind of investment, and the story is surprisingly good.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to talk about Titanfall 2.
Titanfall 2, okay.
Titanfall 2 is a film. It's a game, very filmic game, where you star as a guy called Bob.
Bob, right.
I can't remember his actual name, so he's now Bob.
Chet Darkhunter.
Yeah, who is a aspiring trooper who's in the resistance army against this large organisation which they're starting to win against, and he aspires to be a Titan pilot, Titan being a big stompy robot. But he's not at the moment.
All right.
And he's just at the very, very start of the training for it, and not even close.
Oh, okay.
What do you know, though? Halfway through the first mission of the game, you're in a Titan.
Let me guess.
Who could have guessed?
Your training facility is attacked, all the real Titan pilots are killed through food poisoning, and it's down to you, newbie, to seize the day.
Not quite. Okay. Your friend Titan pilot who was training you, something happens to him, and he gives you his Titan.
Okay, well, that's nice of him.
It was very nice of him.
Yeah.
He, not wanting to spoil anything, but he didn't need it. You can't take it with you.
Yeah. So, when we say Titan, as in stompy robot, how are we talking? Huge kaiju fighting robots?
No.
Or are we talking, exoskeleton power loader?
Think 40k dreadnought type thing.
Okay.
You're sitting in the chest in a little cockpit.
Okay.
And you got
so
arms
these things
with guns
about,
on and feet.
20 metres tall, that kind of scale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a bit less. But it depends. There's small ones and larger ones.
Okay.
You get in that, and then you have to go wander around and you stomp around and shoot stuff. Now, this is a game which unfortunately released between Battlefield and COD.
Ooh.
Battlefield 1 week, this the next, COD the week after. Can you imagine out of those three games, which one failed miserably?
Tough crowd, yeah. Is it Titanfall 2?
Yeah.
Or did it sync without a trace?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. It's on EA Access now, which is good.
Okay.
But it is fantastic.
Okay.
There's two different modes of play, because you get in and out of your Titan quite a lot to do stuff.
So all I really knew about the first game was that it was billed as a massive stompy robot experience, during which you spent most of it on foot shooting normal guns, and then every 5 minutes you get to do the superpowered use your robot mode.
The first one was
so it was more like a panic button special ability.
The first one was all PvP type stuff.
Yeah.
This one has a campaign, and I'm only bothering on the campaign because who has time for PvP?
Wow, yeah.
I don't. Anything where I have to PvP while I'm ranking up, I just can't be bothered anymore.
Well, you get good or you get fed up,
I get fed up anyway, even if I get good, because I've got other things to do, other games to play, just time sinks. So I'm just playing the campaign.
Okay.
And it has good reasons to be in your Titan and to get out. When you're out of your Titan, it is a very, very bouncy game. There's lots of wall running, lots of jumping, lots of double jumping, lots of getting up high to get better angles, lots of
kinetic.
Trying to bounce up mountains type things to shoot people. The shooting is fantastic. It really does feel spot on. It's solid, reassuring, fast. Aiming feels right. It feels like you're killing what you shoot, which isn't always the case in these games. And that is fantastic. When you're in your Titan, it's much the same, only everything's a lot slower. It's all a bit more methodical, a bit more plodding. Instead of bouncy, it's, oh, look, there's a small rock, I can't get over it. But you have a hell of a lot more firepower.
Yeah, yeah.
And occasionally end up having to shoot another Titan, which is just basically a case of strafing around.
So a game like Titanfall, you know, the name in the title and stuff, you'd have to have some really good reasons not to be in the robot all the time.
Oh yeah, you end up having to.
And it would need to also be fun when you're not in the robot.
Yeah, I would say it's a lot more fun when you're not in the robot. The combat is so much better when you're not in the robot, but it doesn't matter because there's one bit quite early on where you need to get to the robot. You're going through this toxic waste facility, sewage facility with green toxic stuff, and you have to split up from your Titan. Your Titan's got AI, so it goes off and does its thing.
Oh yeah,
and then you need to get it through. Basically a big wall of falling there.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. So what you have to do is you have to fight your way to this point, pull a lever, hold the position until he can come through, and then he clears everything.
What does that remind me of? AVP 2. Alien vs Predator 2. Ooh. There was a big long section where your squad of Marines were taking the APCs through this big tunnel thing.
Yeah,
and you had to go through all these walkways and open gates and stuff whilst being chased by aliens.
This is nothing like that. This is a lot faster and a lot better.
Right.
Although that's when the scuttle explodey things happen, and that's not pleasant. They scuttle and explode.
All right.
Not my two least favourite things.
Scuttling and exploding. God.
And then you get back in the Titan after that and you do some stuff. But there's always good enough reasons to get out and good enough reasons to stay in.
Yeah.
And it mixes it up enough to mean that it doesn't get boring either way. And this campaign is it's not very long. I haven't finished it yet, but it's not that long. It's not a 20-hour campaign. I don't think it's even a 10-hour campaign.
Okay.
It's 7 tops, I think.
Yeah.
But it is good. It is really, really good and plays really, really well. And even for the price it is now, just playing the campaign is worth it because it is just a really nice, fast, spot-on design shooter that really deserves a good play.
I think all PvP games should have some sort of solo campaign because you need practice with the basics before you throw yourself into the
also the other thing I would say,
a 10-hour campaign's ideal for learning how to do the basic manoeuvres.
10 years down the line, when I come back to it, I'd like to have a campaign on all these games because the multiplayer will be dead by then, and I still want to be able to play that game and experience it.
It's very fickle, that sort of thing. I mean, how long does the average multiplayer community last on one of these things? How long is it expected to last?
Well, Lawbreakers, the Cliff Blazinski game, I think it was down to about 25 players before it got canned.
Yeah,
it depends.
That hasn't been out long.
No, some things.
I suppose it depends on the underlying popularity of the thing. I mean, stuff like GTA, I suppose that goes on and on. And I imagine the whatever Battlefield or Call of Duty.
It's why you have problems with indie games doing this. Of course, they have the biggest problem. Gun Monkeys, a game released a couple of years ago.
I never heard of it.
It released. It was just a multiplayer deathmatchy type game. 2D, quite fun. But the problem was it was sold where you buy a copy and you get a copy to give to your friend.
Yeah.
But even so, they never got the high enough game numbers playing to make the multiplayer worthwhile.
Critical mass to it. Yeah,
and because there wasn't any single player, it just never did anything.
You go online, you push join, and then you sit there waiting, and nothing happens, and you go away and you don't play it anymore.
And for every Rocket League, say, there's 1,000 other games which just don't get a community. So do not rely on your multiplayer if you want to have a sustainable game.
Yeah,
unless you have a good thing like Grand Theft Auto Online, then you can just print money.
It's attention, isn't it? People have only got so much attention to spare. So
if you've got good IP, you may be okay, but don't guarantee it, and you never know when your player base is going to turn on you, like in Battlefield.
Well, often it'll be driven by the next thing coming along. You know? I mean, even if you don't pull a massive monetization gaff like that and drive everyone away, the next thing will just draw people to it.
I'm not convinced that was entirely a monetization gaff. I think there was some other resentment simmering below the scenes there because people aren't that organised.
Well, I think as I understood it, you had to pay quite a lot of money and roll a lot of dice by paying money to roll a dice to get basic things like Darth Vader and stuff.
Also to level up your character. You got extra, improve your abilities.
Didn't really follow it, but
it was a complete waste of time. But with games becoming games as a service, a stupid idea which is going to die in a year or two because they'll realise they don't sell a second game ever. It's not sustainable. It's not going to happen. Single player is going to come back massively.
Oh, I hope so. There's always a place for it. I'm quite a dedicated MMOist of sorts for quite a long time, but I still play my fair share of single-player story campaigns.
Yeah.
And I love them.
Do you want to talk about a single-player story campaign?
No.
Okay.
Going to talk about Lord of the Rings Online. We are still going with that. Yes, just a bit of a progress update. So we got to Moria, and we are all the way through there. Well, we're not all the way through now.
You're never all the way through.
Well, we're following Volume 2, which is the story of the Dwarf expedition in Moria, and it is a bit... it's a lot of backwards and forwards, to different places all the way across.
It's fine. It's really exciting. No, John, you're weird for not liking it.
I suppose you are probably feeling a little bit vindicated about that. I don't know. I don't care really. I'm enjoying it, but there's a lot of make busy work, and what I'm seeing is that basically it's the idea of episodic content. It's a box set binge, is what we're doing, and the epic story in Lord of the Rings Online really doesn't hold up to a box set binge particularly. No. I mean, it plays like it's relatively episodic. You know, each book consists of a number of. So you've got volumes, which is the overall expansion. Volume 1 was everything from the launch of the game up to Moria. Volume 2 is all of Moria. And so within there you've got books, and then inside those you've got chapters, and chapters are a go to here, do some stuff, come back and tick a box, whereas books are a number of chapters put together. Obviously, I think people know how books work.
I think so, yeah.
Books don't have to have chapters though. Books work as a one-off, I think, as a basic session thing. But I mean, if I set myself a sort of a schedule of, I'm only going to do one book per session or one book per week, then I'm not going to get this thing finished before it gets shut down.
No, you're not.
So we are kind of box set binging it, and in that context, the story really doesn't hold up that well. There's some interesting things and some cool set pieces and some great sort of lore. I call it lore plus, I suppose. It's where they're basically taking the actual story and then embellished it and added to it in a relatively suitable style that isn't too law breaking.
It's just mildly annoying, not.
But there's a lot of now go all the way down the other end of now go back down to the waterworks and look at some stuff and get me. There's one mission where we have to get some broken weapons because we're gearing up to fend off an orc assault against the Chamber of the Crossroads and places like that. And he literally gives you a list of where you might find these broken weapons. This is Moria. This is an entire underground dwarven kingdom spread across about 40 miles from one side to the other in the books, and
where they mine and forge weapons,
where thousands and thousands of dwarves and indeed orcs have lived and fought and battled over hundreds and hundreds of years, and there are about 20 specific locations in the entire place you have to go to find these broken weapons.
Well, you've got to find the right weapons.
Oh no, it's just can't we just use these? There's a big pile of them here. No.
I could go to the vendor.
Yeah, I
got these legendaries.
I'm beginning to think Lord of the Rings Online would be great if it wasn't online. If I could just somewhere if I could just find like a story I could just read all the way through without having to do the interactive stuff, that might be quite popular. Yeah, someone needs to write the whole story of Lord of the Rings Online as a book. Anyway, so we're finding that the backwards and forwards of it all is a bit wearing, but it doesn't matter because I'm really enjoying Moria. It's a fantastically designed place. It is a love or hate thing. Yeah. Some people hate it. Some people love it. It's too dark. It is very dark. Well, they've lightened the ambient interior lighting a great deal from what I remember. You can see much further distance-wise as well. Draw distance has improved. I don't know if that's an engine thing or whether my graphics are just better. But you can definitely see more of as a large sort of internal scope to the place. That you'll be riding along on your goat along this track and looking across, and you can see across vast chambers of big stalactites and massive stepped dwarven fortifications in the distance with big crystal glowing lanterns and stuff. And I've forgotten how distinct they managed to make each section of Moria look as well. You'd think, it's all just going to be an underground set of tunnels, but there are zones within Moria, and each of them has a really different look and feel, partly to do with ambient lighting and general colour scheme and of the place. Like this, the Redhorn Lodes is indeed a lot more red than other places, and that or the Flaming Deeps, where you've got lots of lakes of, I think it's tar or something, the black stuff with flames coming out of it all the time, smoke everywhere, and that everything's lit from underneath and is a lot redder, whereas the waterworks is a much more of a wide, serene underground lake with big walls coming up and aqueducts everywhere. I mean, there's just the sort of differentiation within Moria is a fascinating thing. They've done a really good job, I always thought. But and here we are again. I think this is probably the only second time I've ever really been through the place properly. I got, obviously the first time through, did that. Then I think I got another character just about to the doors of Durin, then gave up and got bored of that back then. That was a static group that just sort of petered out. But now we're pushing on through, and we've actually been out the other side. There's a quest we accidentally stumbled across where one of the dwarves basically wants escorting over multiple stages, all the way from about the 21st hall all the way out to the other far end. Yeah,
I remember that one.
Yeah. He sort of, talk to me again when you're ready to move on, and it goes all the way from the 21st hall about right across the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and a lot about that game made you grumpy.
Yeah.
And eventually, you end up outside under the stars in the Dimril Dale there. And we can see Lothlorien in the distance, but we've went back inside to carry on. I mean, Lothlorien will come in its time, in its turn.
Briefly.
Yeah, well, it was never really... I don't think it was ever really designed as a big adventure hub, big source of adventures of itself. It's a town, basically, with a bit of scenery and a bit of, geek-out tourism to it. But and then, you're off to Southern Mirkwood after that. So, yeah, we're doing well. I'm level 61 now, so we've hit level cap for Moria and are still going because the levels are higher than that. So, basically, it's a struggle to get the stuff done before it all turns grey in the quest log. So, we're sort of overloaded. Because they assumed you just hit the cap and then stay there whilst you're cracking on with the story. So, I mean, levelled content won't continue 61 plus until we get to Southern Mirkwood itself.
Who could have guessed?
I don't mind. I'm not there for the power levelling and the achiever of it all. I mean, I'm there to experience the ambience and, yes, the story. I'm complaining because there's a lot of make busy backwards and forwards in between the interesting bits, but the interesting bits are still worth doing, I think. We had to go to a 3-man dungeon.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of the few 3-man dungeons available in the game. We were on level. We had the Trinity going properly. I found my tanking spec.
Cool.
Yeah, it turns out that if I'd have put all my... Because you actually get 2 specs, and I just put the first... Because I used all my points up on the red tree, which is your solo DPS stuff, just because I thought I was going to be soloing through it all. But then it turns out, if I put all the points in the second spec into the blue one, and then I can switch between the one I need. And the blue one, almost the first point you put in there unlocks the AoE taunt. Yes, things got a lot easier after that, because I was just... we went in and I stabbed one of them and held its aggro, and then everything else went and pummeled the other 2 into dust. So
the tauntless tank
is a real thing with Lotra. I remember the first time through as a Guardian, it took me to about, I think, level 40 until you get your first actual taunt. That must have been reworked since then. It was insane. But so we've done a little bit of dungeons. This was a complicated with the mirror halls, it's called, and it's basically all those Moraval winged harpy women. All in some roost, and there's a whole bunch of mirrors that you have to sort of realign to get this beam of light. I think you might have done it.
I think I've done it. Yeah,
I think we had a go back in the day.
It sounds vaguely generically familiar.
So you have to sort of realign all these mirrors to get the mirrors down through to the boss, and then the beam of light, all that, you kill the boss easier without it stomping you too badly. And it's quite fun. It threw us a few curveballs because there's a couple of mirrors where there is a respawning creature near it who will just turn it back again once it comes back. So you have to do those ones last. So you have to sort of get the whole thing set up before you know it's going to work, and then do those 3 mirrors last. And if you got it all right and set the mirrors right, and then big boss fight, hurrah! There was some sort of bonus mode you can do, like don't kill all its minions for additional rewards. I don't know. Medallions of Lothlorien, I have no idea. Probably by the time we've accumulated enough medallions of Lothlorien, we'll be about 10 levels higher than the gear it's giving out. I don't care. It was just the doing of it. We can still do group work in here. It still works. But I don't know really what else there is in the school and the library. There's a couple of other instances along the way. But they got into this habit of selling the instance cluster as a separate product. Yes, which I think so for Isengard or Rohan, one of those two, you have to pay extra for the dungeons.
I sort of approve on that because it's not doing the dungeons.
You're buying content. I mean, if you just literally don't care, then you don't have to buy them, I suppose. But just buy the quests, the overworld quests instead. But monetization, hey, Turbine or Standing Stone Games or whatever the hell they're called these days.
I don't know.
Yeah. So still going well there. You want to talk about a thing?
I'm going to talk. I went back to Yorkshire Gubbins.
Yorkshire Gubbins.
Yes, for those who don't remember, because
I know you're talking about it, but I don't really remember what you said.
It's a 2D point-and-click adventure.
Okay.
Set in 100% accurate Yorkshire, where the main story is about this woman who's trying to make a pie.
A pie?
But she's got no special meat because her best friend has stolen the special meat because she ruined her wedding while trying to sort out the fact that she had been duplicated by a slug person.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
100% accurate.
With you so far.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I played the main story a while ago, but I went back and played the prequel, which because I keep thinking I want to play more of this, but the next adventure isn't out yet. It's coming very soon, and the developer keeps teasing it, and so I think, I'd go play this sequel. The sequel's very, very short, but it reminded me that I really, really like this game. It doesn't have the stupid moon logic of a Sierra adventure.
Yeah.
It looks good, although pixel size means on a large monitor it really does sort of in your face.
That's part of the charm.
And it does have some fantastic voice acting in the most part.
Anyone I've heard of?
No.
Okay.
It's a small indie game, and the developers basically said that she was lamenting the fact that she had people come visit her and she didn't get them to record any voice work.
Fair enough.
Because, it works. And it's just a really, really nice, amusing, passes any laugh test you can come up with, story, a point-and-click adventure, which isn't really, because nowadays point-and-click adventures basically come down to nostalgia.
Yes.
It's okay. Here's Sam and Max. Here's Day of the Tentacle. Here's Monkey Island, and then oh look, I made something in the line of my those games I made back then. In the case of Thimbleweed Park. Yeah. But there isn't that much new stuff, and there's some.
How do you do new stuff? What is the new paradigm for a point-and-click adventure? What does that look like in the modern world when it's not being done as an ironic retro niche thing?
You can do it still, but you don't have to. It's the ironic retro bit. It has the verbs down the bottom you click on, and the invention on the bottom, which is fine. That just works as a UI.
It's fine, but it's a 20-year-old game,
Yeah, but the actual game and the humour on it and the references are all fine and up to date and modern, and it doesn't feel old in the process, which is good. Because Thimbleweed Park, for all that it was, all that was good about it, was firmly looking backwards. It was making constant references to the old games and mocking.
Yeah, if you'd never played Monkey Island, you probably weren't going to get half of Thimbleweed Park, probably.
Or if you didn't know about the Sierra Adventures being really a bit moon logic-y, you're not going to get that joke. And this Yorkshire Gubbins isn't like that. It isn't.
That's good.
It isn't looking forwards. Looking back, it's looking forwards and doing new things with it. And I really appreciate that about it. And it's really quite good. And I think everyone should go play it, because if you want a point-and-click adventure, it's really worth it. And okay, there's Verb School, which you can play online for free on the web, which is basically the tutorial. Then there's a prequel, which sets up the first episode, oddly enough, as the prequel does, which is very, very short. And then there's the first episode, which has all of the stuff in it. Right.
Is the intent being this is going to be a season thing?
Oh, yeah. And she's working on the next one.
Right.
And which has got lots of Doctor Who references in, apparently. and she's going to keep going and making bits.
Fair enough.
I don't know whether or not I did it in the right order or not, because I played the main episode, then the prequel.
No, that shouldn't matter too much if they're written well enough.
Yeah, no, I think that I perhaps did it in the right order, because it made some of the jokes referencing the prequel funnier to me. Because it references a bit preposterous things, and leaves them unsaid. Fair enough. But when you go and play the prequel, you go through those things, and it's that whole resolving.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun doing it back in the But I think possibly playing the main one and then the prequel might be slightly funnier in some bits. But then again, I could be wrong. But it's a really good game, right?
I don't know if you're enjoying it. You're not wrong.
Yeah, no, it's on Steam. Have a go, have a play. It's really quite fun.
Yeah, cool. Right, I'm going to talk about Might and Magic 9.
Now we're onto the single player.
Yeah, we're onto the single. Yeah, well, so on my shelf, I've got a whole bunch of.
Wow.
I know, 9. And
I remember when it was 8.
I don't even remember the first one. So this is not Heroes of Might and Magic, which is the sort of army.
That's a spin-off.
Army thing that you move around, move stacks of armies around the landscape, fantasy battle thing. This is essentially a kind of first-person party-based adventure romp. It's very, very old, 2002. I had to look it up because I just I think if you see some of the video I captured here at fantastically low resolution and stretched badly on my monitor, you'll see it's quite a primitive-looking thing. So I got this massive shelf of DVD cases on my.
Oh, you're actually playing on proper media?
No, on my shelf, and almost none of which now work on Windows 10 because Windows 10 doesn't like DRM companies cocking about with the DVD with the CD drivers.
To be fair to them, turned around and said no.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah, a lot of copy protection in those days worked by basically rewriting and modifying your CD-ROM drivers on your operating system to work with what they'd done to the disk. I think
a bit simplified, but yeah.
Yeah, there's technology behind it. Well, I think it's just writing a section that isn't normally readable on the disk or something like that. I can't remember. There's various mechanisms, but a lot of them are basically considered by Microsoft a big no-no, and were quite bad in the day, and nowadays are being rightly regarded as essentially malware.
Yeah.
But that does have the downside of pretty much every game I've got on disc from about 2000 through to about 2014 no longer working.
Are you aware
on
of
Windows
a
10
company?
Is there a company that can help? There is a
company that can help.
Yes, well, I went to that company that can help and found that it was quicker to just buy and install it from there than get the disc
bundle of all of the Might and Magic games ages ago. Yeah. I think I had them all.
So I bought it again from GOG. Yeah, it was only about £4 or something. And as I've said many times before, I regard that as a fee worth paying for the work they do. Even though I am generally opposed to the idea of buying the same game twice for angry reasons of not my control, so got it, fired it up, and this is entirely a nostalgia thing. I'm not I'm talking about it on the show, but I really don't think I can recommend it in all good conscience because it's just very bad, objectively speaking. But I quite liked it back in the day, and I never really finished it. So I thought, let's see if I can get that going again. And even with the GOG version, I still had to go looking for some compatibility patches. It was a game that was very buggy. It was a game that was very late released. It had all sorts of development hell problems. I had to go and do a bit of research on Wikipedia where it talks about some of this. And it's a game that bombed. It was not liked by the fans of the Might and Magic series, let alone reviewers and other gamers. And just for some context, I mean, like I say, you can probably see a bit of the video here. It's a really simplistic thing. It has item bloat, inventory bloat. It's a bit buggy. The music's okay, but the graphics are terrible. Are
they terrible for the standards of the time?
No, this is it. I thought, well, it's an old game, fair enough. But then I looked at it and I thought, no, EverQuest 1 was better than this, and that launched in 1999. And
this is after Half-Life.
In the same month, Morrowind launched. Yeah. You could put Morrowind and Might and Magic 9 side by side and then point at one and laugh.
One of them sold more copies.
One of them did rather well. Guess. Yeah. The other one killed its company. 3DO don't exist, I don't think, anymore.
God, yes,
it was one of the old 3DO lot. So anyway, but it's a relatively driven party-based adventure romp with some stats and some class progression and some questing, and some of the dungeon design was quite interesting, as I recall. There's hidden things and in boxes and tasks to carry out and that sort of thing. It's now I come to explain it to someone else, I'm really doing a really bad job of selling it, and it doesn't help sell itself either. But I was really fascinated with it in its day, and I've just found myself playing a lot of that lately, trying to actually have a go and finish it, trying to work my way through. I tell you what, it's made more difficult by the fact that any time I get stuck, normally you just head for the wiki, online, nothing. There's almost no. It's like,
wow.
I think I've found 1 or 2 GeoCities sites that are still running or have been ported to somewhere else, and it's really quite a niche game and didn't do very well. But I'm liking it for some reason. So there you go. I don't remember. It doesn't Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. I think was probably one of the latest instalments of that franchise, because that was quite a big franchise in its day.
I liked Dark Messiah of Might and Magic.
Do you know
why?
Lot. Because it was the people who did Arx Fatalis and Dishonored and Prey. It's Arcane Studios did that.
Yeah,
they were hired on after other popular, because Arx Fatalis was essentially a spiritual recreation of Ultima Underworld, and it was highly regarded but didn't do very well commercially. But I think the publishers, is it Ubisoft or whoever, they basically hired on Arcane Studios to do a game with the Source engine, because off the back of how well they liked the Arx Fatalis stuff. And Dark Messiah in Might and Magic is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend that. It's very kinetic, quite a lot of kicking people off of ledges and some really good sword play and stuff. But no, not this thing. Might and Magic 9 is pretty bad for its time. But if you sort of imagine it to be a 1980s game, it's actually quite good. So I'm playing a lot of that, and I don't know why. But I also bought the Summoner. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
That was a sort of console classic that was also on the PC of that time as well, and that had some really good story and world building to it. Although the combat was a bit simplistic and clicky, so I haven't really sunk myself well into that yet. But that was another one from on my shelf. I'm going to get to the point where I can just throw out about 50 games because they just don't work anymore, and that I've bought them all.
You sell them.
Well, they don't work. That's the problem, isn't it? Unless you've got a 486 somewhere running Windows 3.1.
There are people online that have YouTube channels.
Well, yeah, I know this. I can do my bit by destroying my copy of it, which makes all the other ones that much more rare.
That's true.
But yeah, it just irritates me. I buy games for life. I don't rent them. This is why I've never really gone in for these like subscription service gaming stuff. Why I always get really irritated about things like Lotro, where you're buying quest packs temporarily for points, or subscription being effectively renting a game. It just really gets to me, and it really breaks my heart to see hundreds of games, really good games of their day, that I effectively become retro games these days, and just as well GOG are on the case, because otherwise they'd be gone forever. There'd be no way to replay this stuff. I mean, I suppose you can't take this stuff with you, but some of them do hold up even through the haze of nostalgia, and I'm still sort of enjoying some of those still today.
Yeah, I actually played a bit of Ultimate Underworld the other day.
Oh yeah.
You should go and play that again. That is still very good. If a little bit.
I really enjoyed those. Yeah. Those were some of my earliest formative PC gaming experiences.
No Quest Journal.
No,
that's a bit problematic, and the map is fantastic.
Take pen and paper.
The map has
the spells.
You put all the spells. You put annotations on the map yourself.
Well, that's quite elaborate.
Yeah.
I remember bits of paper.
Yeah, and the spell system where you can guess the spells.
Yeah, it's essentially just a permutation lock rune thing. But
some of them
are written on notes in the game, but otherwise you just work them out.
Right, so I combine these. Ha!
Yeah. Permutation spellcasting. I love it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Have you finished talking about
much? No, I also... I finished talking about that. I just wanted to point out I found a mobile game I like.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. This is called The Battle for Polytopia, and I don't know how to get image shapes off of my phone onto the camera there.
Maybe.
You can probably find it. It is... Essentially, it's a remake of Civilization.
I like
the Civ games. It's in an isometric style. It's got cutesy pixel art, sort of vector graphic style, and it is an absolutely perfect distillation of the spirit of Civilization for a 5-minute mobile phone game.
Have you ever played Civilization Revolution?
No.
You should have a go at that.
Okay, but this thing it's got cities on a landscape. The landscape's suitably small, you'd expect. You've got a tech tree where you're generating resources and researching technologies which allow you to build more units. You build roads between your cities, you're generating more trade there, you've got various resources on the landscape to work with, you've got other empires that you're fighting, moving your units around the board, archers, cavalry, that kind of thing. Each of the civilizations has its own little unique look and feel. There's like a Viking lot and a samurai lot, and all those different tribes style things there going on, Romans, and it's free and there's no ads. I think they charge for unlocking other types of tribe. You only get 3 or 4 to start with.
I accept that as a...
Yeah, it seems but it's just so slick, and it absolutely nails the UI problem. The whole mobile phone UI problem. It works fine in portrait. You don't have to turn it landscape and then use half the screen as thumb controlders or anything like that rubbish.
I apologise for the video I'm showing in portrait.
But it works so well. It's just tap, 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 done. I just can't understand how few mobile phone game makers get that wrong. Even things that are deliberately made for mobile phone. You match 3 gems things. The gems are always too small. The screen's got too much going on. This is just an absolutely elegant
or a game I played during
the
week, which I won't mention because it wasn't that good, where the button presses only worked about 1 out of every 5 times.
No, this is absolutely spot on, and I can't believe they're giving it away for free, frankly. So look for that. If it's on Android, I guess there's the other sorts as well.
There's probably an OS.
Probably an OS one. I don't know. Look for it in your Google Play Store.
I don't know.
I've
abandoned Apple, so I don't care anymore.
The Battle for Polytopia, very good. Surprising, because I hate mobile phone games and I like this one. So there you go.
I hate you too.
Yeah, it's deserved. So, what did you learn this week?
I learnt that you can't roast a whole cauliflower, even if the recipe calls for it.
Not without specialised equipment. And
Which doesn't cook properly.
I learned that my car has a warning light for when one of the headlight bulbs has gone.
Oh, fantastic!
I know. I was driving along and I hear this ping, and then this little yellow symbol I didn't recognise comes up. It looks like a sun, and it came up, and I thought, oh God, this is it. We've only got 8 minutes till the end of the world. But then next time, my book's in the glove box, so I dug it out and had a look. And if one of your headlight bulbs goes, it will tell you on your dashboard.
Because that's not much electronics to actually add.
It's just a current. The current is not happening anymore. Warning light.
Yeah,
you don't have to rely on other drivers flashing at you all the time. So that was great. The next day, and off to the car place. Pull the back off the thing. New bulb in, sorted, done.
Are yours easy to do yourself?
And the light went off. Yeah. It's all just spring clips and reach in, clip, done.
Because a mutual friend of ours, I helped him replace one of his lights, and it took so long because it being a French car.
Had to get the body off of the chassis.
It was just hideous. It was so much effort.
Yeah, it's amazing what science can do nowadays.
Is. So, go on to howtomatatime.com for previous shows and more of the same, and the links to all our YouTube stuff and all the previous podcasts. See you next time.
Goodbye.